Suhan Production.
I want you to tell me how you call these formations, get the personnel on the field, get the motions right, get the matchups in the places you want to do. Let's go. Let's see if we can answer this really quick. All right, 21 personnel. Here we go with 11 personnel, trips to the top. Here we go with 12 personnel. Here we go with split 20 personnel. Gun doubles with tight end in the game, about to go in motion. Gun trips here to the bottom of the screen, tight end up top. Back to an offset I and a 21 personnel. A gun trips to the top, tight end in the game. Into a heavy 22 personnel out of an I formation. Jump into an empty. Back to a doubles out of a gun. Into an 11 personnel with a tight end into the game. Welcome back to another episode of Coaching Process Wins. I'm excited to share this video with you and want to give you just a quick synopsis of why I even thought about this. I'm helping through Coaching Process Wins, and you can actually go on coachingprocesswins.com. And tomorrow, Friday, April 7th, we're releasing Alex Kirby's Every Play Revealed Super Bowl book. And I gave Alex some assistance on a very small, tiny part. And when I gave him this assistance, one of the things was doing the diagrams for the Patriots offense. And the program I was using was, to say the least, laborious, tedious, because I never saw a pattern or very few patterns. How in the world were they getting all the personnel groups? How are they getting the formations? You know, they've got that clock that continuously runs. As soon as the play's over, bam, they got to get a new one in. And how is Brady getting that relayed from their offensive coordinator? You know, personnel, grouping, sets in the backfield, tight end in the game, tight end out of the game, fullback in, fullback out, motions. How in the world are they going from play to play to play, just like I showed you, and being able to communicate that and line up? It was mind-boggling. And I thought back to when I was an offensive coordinator at a small college in the early 2000s, and a book that I've totally wore out. The professor of football, Andrew Coverdale, and Dan Robinson wrote The Bunch Attack. And, you know, the Bunch Attack passing game and some of the other things that he wrote, there's one right there with Aikman in the cover that's a new volume of it. A lot of stuff on the bunch and the passing attack. But what really caught my eye was how Coach Coverdale and Coach Robinson went into how they packaged and boxed information to get the personnel, get the sets, get the formation, get the changes in the formation, and get the motions. And I wore this book out. I mean, the cover's busted. And I have written all over it. And we utilize that formation calling system. And as I was helping Alex Kirby with the Every Play Revealed of this year's Super Bowl, the Patriots versus the Falcons, I'm just mind boggled how the Patriots are doing it. And then voila, I go back to Coach Coverdale's book and Coach Robinson's book there, and I'm going, whoa, utilize a high school football coach's system, his verbiage, to get into the Patriots' multitude of personnel packages and formations and motions. Can a high school system equate to the NFL system? You know, a lot of times it's not what we know, it's what the kids know. And to make things short and make them concise and make them memorable is what's going to equate out there onto the field. So this episode of Coaching Process Wins is going to do just that. We're going to apply a high school football coach's system to a multiple personnel formation package of the NFL Super Bowl champion Patriots. Sit back, watch, take notes, freeze this. I think it can really apply. I've just got before we make this live, I've got a behind the scenes look at the PDF of what we're going to release tomorrow on coachingprocesswins.com. Every play revealed, New England versus Atlanta. This was from this year's Super Bowl, and I'm just going to give you a taste test of a few things. You know, Alex Kirby eats, breathes, and sleeps this stuff. He's almost like a professor down in some lab in some dark, deep dungeon of breaking down football. And just play one, the detail involved. Here's New England's drive one, play one, the time, the down and distance, the yard line, what hash, the personnel in the game, the defensive personnel in the game, what type of tempo was being used, and what the score was. There's an overview of the play schematically of all 22, the alignments, the players, and then here's a deep dive into the analysis. Every play, all the way down to the thrilling, come from behind, going into the fourth quarter of what the Patriots did, the analysis, all the way into overtime, and some of the things that Alex is able to uncover are just eye-opening. And whether you're a high school coach, a college coach, what have you, wanting to learn the game, there's a lot to be uncovered in this. And so I want to take all the multitude of formational packages and sort of unpack that and say, hey, this is how you could utilize a high school football coach's system to create matchup problems, getting your best on their worst, etc. Utilizing, let's go from the Patriots offensive formations and sets, utilize a high school coach's system, and that giving all that credit to Andrew Coverdale and Dan Robinson. So let me show you exactly what I'm pulling that from, and let's keep diving deeper. This is the ebook version. Back up here over my shoulder is one of the earlier volumes of Coach Coverdale and Dan Robinson's book. And again, I don't get anything for this. Coach's Choice put it out, and you can go to their website. This copyrighted version was in 1998, but you're going to be amazed at the detail, the professorship of what these guys went into to make this happen. And it really opened my eyes. Dang, what these guys are doing on a high school system works for NFL. It can work for you and it can work for your kids. But the detail that these guys, I'm just flipping pages here, but this is really where it started the formations, and we're going to really take a deep dive into this, understand it, learn it, see it from the Patriots angle, and apply it back there to Coach Coverdale and Dan Robinson's offense. I just wanted to let you know, give credit where credit's due, where this is coming from. Hope that helps you. Again, you can see their book, get their book electronically or on their website, order it at Coach's Choice. But Coach Robinson and Coach Coverdale do a good job. And again, I'm not getting anything for this. I'm just giving credit where credit's due. So I just wanted to let you know what we're going to do, where it comes from, and this is a great share that you can possibly apply to your own system, tweak it, utilize it, adapt it to what you're going to do. But I think it's just a brilliant look at how Coach Coverdale and Coach Robinson take blocks of information, apply it to each player, and any multitude of formations, motions, personnel can be applied. An amazing resource. Before we get started, up above my shoulder are my guys at Grinds. One of my favorite is, and it's such my favorite, I'm out. Got to order some more of the cinnamon roll. But today, to keep me going, talking to y'all, I'm going to use mocha. You can get Grinds at getgrinds.com. Put your 15% discount that I'm giving to all the coaches, that they'll apply 15% off of any order, big or small. Put in Coach's Choice 15. Again, Coach's Choice 15. And remember, tomorrow, go to Coach's Choice, coachingprocesswins.com, coachingprocesswins.com. Sign up, see the offering of every play revealed from this year's Patriots and Falcons Super Bowl game, and the deep, deep dive that Alex Kirby brings to us in sharing with football coaches. Hope you enjoy this. Let's get into exactly how we do the formations. If my ugly mug up here in the corner is getting in the way, I'll read this. I think what you have to start with is determining the personnel. And these are what I just bring to talking about the personnel that are on the field. On the sideline, between plays, actually telling what players to go in the game, come out of the game. You can do it in numbers 20, 21, 20. Of course, 2 backs, 1 tight end, 2 backs, no tight ends, etc. Wide receivers correspond. Or you can give them names. 21 personnel is regular, 20 personnel is trio, 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends is jumbo. When I add a T, like 22T, it's jumbo with a tackle eligible. So it's not actually 2 tight ends. A big tackle's coming in and becoming a tight end. A big tackle's coming in, becoming a tight end. 11 personnel, 12 personnel, and 12T is 1 back, 2 tight ends, but one of the tight ends is a tackle eligible. And I give, code words, deuce, tray. So I'm not going to belabor that point. You may have your own personnel packages and what you call them, but when you have, multiple kids that you want to get in the game, it's a great way to get in the game. It's a way to get a tight end in the game and involved. It's a way to get a tight end involved. It's a way to get 4 wide receivers involved, get the kids out from the basketball team. So it's a great way to get personnel. But now, how do you communicate to all these guys and be multiple but be simple? So one of the brilliant things that Coverdale and Robinson do is they have building blocks of communication. And, I've got a few words here, and again, I'm not going to belabor it, but they have small building blocks that, provide information to communicate with a particular unit or a person. Each player only gets what the word that they need to know. Skipping down the order of the blocks. And again, freeze this and read it at your leisure to fully understand it. But when you're given blocks of information, basically the order goes the backfield set, then the tight end and receivers, that's block 2, the H-back, the motion. So if I had 4 boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, box 1 would be the backs. What alignment are they in? The tight end and the corresponding receivers, according to where the tight end lines up, the H-back, and then the last box, the motion. So let's concentrate on block 1, basically giving you the backfield sets. Here are some examples. And what Coach Coverdale and Coach Robinson did, again, the mid-90s is when this information came out that they published. And it's been re-released a few times in different volumes. But according to, the evolution of football, this can change. But their default was the I formation. So when they lined up in the I, they didn't say I. It was just a way of decreasing the verbiage. So it was their default. Your default could be from the shotgun, and the back is offset. A would be offset to the right, or B offset to the left. And to even make things simpler, and what this paragraph basically says is, if their back is going to be offset right in the gun or offset left in the gun, it's according to what his assignment is. So if he's going to run a zone right, he'd line up on the left side. If he's going to run a screen pass to the left, he would line up in a B or on the left side. And so it just wasn't, that could be your default. Gun could be your default. For their book and their purposes, I was their default. This is split. Strong is when the F is offset strong to the call side. Tight end's denoted here on the right. Weak, fullback is offset weak left. They have a brown call. Fullback's behind the quarterback. Halfback is offset right. Its corresponding would be blue. So again, freeze this. I won't belabor each one. Block 2 is where the Y receiver lines up and how that corresponds with the X and the Z receiver. Here's a good diagram of R words that denote where the tight end would line up and L words of where the tight end would line up. So calls to position the Y receiver. In a lot of cases, Y is universal for a tight end. But depending on what personnel group you have, the Y in a 3 wide receiver package is still the Y. This just denotes where everything starts. So this is block 2. Rip is right on the line tight. R is when he wings off. Rex is midway between the in man on the line of scrimmage and the widest receiver. That's Rex. And then when the tight end becomes the widest player, it's Ron, corresponding with L's, Liz, L, Lex, and Lou. Now, unless the call dictates otherwise, the X receiver aligns opposite the tight end with the Z receiver aligning with him. Stay with me here and look how this works for the New England Patriots in 12 different random sets that I just picked out of the 99-plus play Super Bowl that the Patriots executed on offense. Now, code words to flip the receivers, they use Ray and Larry. So think of twins. And again, you can read this. The R and the L at the beginning of those words tell the wideouts which side to align, and the Y at the end. So the Y at the end of Ray, the Y at the end of Larry, say tight ends opposite. So here's a good picture right here of Larry. So basically you have twins to the left, tight end goes opposite. Ray, twins to the right, tight end opposite. So those are code words that go with the second building block of where to align the tight end and the 2 corresponding receivers. Now, let's look at the first live formation that the Patriots are going to give. I would call that regular. So you've got a regular tailback, fullback, tight end in the game, so 21 personnel. So this is what the Patriots line up in. And again, these are random. And this is not necessarily first down, second down, third down, et cetera, first play, second play, third play. But this is, I just wanted to note different sets to make this video work for you, to learn how they get into multiple things. So basically we got a 21 personnel twins up top. That could be as long or as short as you want, but if you're going to get into multiple things, you've got to make the verbiage work and memorable for the kids. Keep it likable and learnable. Some people call it the KILL principle. It's not the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. It's not that. It's keep it likable and learnable. I think that's a good thing. Again, I derived some of these shots from Alex Kirby's book that's going to be released on every play revealed from the Super Bowl. And we're concentrating just on the plays that are detailed on the Patriots offense. So this is the formation. Now it's got the play. We're not going to worry about the play or what's happening in terms of schematically. But again, Alex Kirby goes into great detail with what drive it is, what play it is, the time remaining, down and distance, the personnel on the field, offensively and defensively, and then the scheme. But I'll just give you an overview, and now let's see how we're going to determine it based on what you've just seen on the first two building blocks. Ray. This is simply Ray. So if you say regular with the personnel, Ray. I mean, you could scream Ray out. In small college football, we weren't playing in front of 80,000 people. I didn't give a crap. Ray! Everybody on the field knew what the formation was, including the defense, but they didn't know what Ray was, from Larry, from Joe, from Jim, or whatever, to see all this. Now, of course, you can have a signal for what Ray is. That's not important. But the simplicity of Ray, and remember from the building blocks of Coverdale's and Robinson's book, the I formation is a default, not called. The second building block is what the tight end does. And remember, you had Rex, and you had Lex, and you had the R and L words. The code to make them go opposite, we're going to have the corresponding receivers go with the R, and the tight end go left. So it's a one-worder. Right. We're in 21 personnel, tight end left, twins right. Let's see the next look. Again, we're in 21 personnel, and I'm not going to get bogged down with personnel on every one of these. Again, you may have different words for them. That could be regular. We have the offset now. Tight end up top, twins down. Here is the schematic look, again, pulled from Alex's book. And we see the personnel on the field, what's happening. And this is strong Larry. Again, let's go back to the building blocks. Now, whereas the last slide had a default of the I formation, the first block is we want to make the backs set different. So strong says the fullback is offsetting to the call side, which would be the tight end. The tight end and receivers corresponding line up in Larry. That's the second block. L, two receivers go together. The Y at the end of Larry, tight end goes opposite. Strong Larry. Now we have a 22 package, or 22 personnel in the gang. And actually, you'll see here in just a minute that this is the tackle eligible. So you may call it 22T, jumbo, whatever. Again, I'm not getting bogged down into how you call personnel. But one-worders tell everybody who goes in the game and who comes out of the game. You know, jumbo, 22. Let's look at it schematically. Again, detail to the nth degree, the scheme that's being employed here on this down and distance, people in the game, and what's that called. So again, I'm not going to get bogged down in personnel, but simply this formation is rip tight. I've got an asterisk right there. Tight will be defined in the next 2 slides on how that equates to the blocks. But there's no need to call the default backfield set. And RIP is denoted with the tight end. Now that may be a tackle eligible. And if you're going to call jumbo or big, something in a 22, and you've got a tackle eligible because you don't have another tight end, you want to get another big tackle in the game. And again, the great thing about this is you're able to utilize a lot of kids, and a lot of kids are able to, get in the game and contribute. So the tackle eligible goes to the R, the RIP formation. Tight says the backside tight end will be tight, or the backside receiver will be tight. So we'll get into that in just a minute. But anyway, this is RIP tight. Okay, let's look at just the next clip here. What we have here is a split backfield. So we've got two backs in the backfield and a gun, and we've got 20 personnel. Here's to look at it in a total all 22 schematic. This denotes the motion that we'll talk about here, and some blocks that come later on how motion is handled. So whatever you call 20 personnel, 20 comes in, 22 comes off. This is split Lex H2, and we'll talk about H2 motion, any motion, and how simple that is later in the Coverdale and Robinson terminology. But split Lex H2, so we have split in the backfield. We have our receiver or tight end, actually, because we're in 20 personnel, this player has inserted for the Y, okay? So in Alex's book, what he does is he details like, Edelman in terms of his analysis is doing this or that lined up to take a matchup, etc. And he gives great detail, in other words, incomplete pass intended for Edelman. So in a normal playbook, this could be Z, Y, and X. This would be your F and your H. Let's don't get bogged down into that, a lot. Split Lex H2, and H2 we'll get to here in a minute. Now, I should have put gun in here because at the time of this writing, when they were making the I formation under center, their default, football was different, but the system remains the same, and it can be adapted to whatever you're doing year to year according to strengths, according to players and that type thing. So your default now could just be gun, and you don't say gun. Whereas when you go under center, you might just you say under. So I'm assuming right here that a default could be gun. Otherwise, here and later, you'll see me put gun in. So it's that simple. We've got 20 personnel in the game for whatever you call that, split Lex H2. Now, let's go to the third block. Remember, first block is the backfield set. 2 backs. I is the default, split, strong, brown, blue, whatever, 2 backs. Block 2 is where your Y receiver lines up, and then the corresponding other 2 receivers, X and Z, would line up. Block 3 in the building blocks is your H-back and where he lines up. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to detach or displace the back in the backfield from the I or from the split backs, what have you, and we're going to put him into the formation. This is a great graphic of where the H-back goes. So the way that they denote the H-back is with whole numbers. So, as universal, 2, 4, 6, 8, 3, 5, 7, 9, etc. So kids from junior pro league days know whole numbers. So When the back or the H is detached and comes out of the backfield, excuse me, this is the 6 alignment, 8 alignment, 10 alignment. It also says if you do a 3 receiver side, a 2 receiver side, this would be the number 1, the number 2, and the number 3. That's for another talk. But anyway, if the H is in a 6, he's the 3rd receiver in the progression. If he's in 8, he's the number 2 receiver. If he's in 10, then he's the number 1 receiver. Corresponding to the left, a 7, a 9, and 11. So that's the 3rd block of how an H-back is displaced. Let's go to code words continued. So now that we've built the blocks, we're going to add a few more codes. And again, I'm not going to belabor these by reading every one of them. You pause it, look at it, go get Coverdale and Robinson's books. But they use words like slot, can be used to set the H-back just inside the tight end. Rip slot, list slot, race slot. So right here we have an example of a Larry slot. Now remember, you've got Larry with the Z and X going with the L of the L word. Y goes opposite. Now usually opposite, the Y at the end of Larry lines him up tight. But if we use the code word slot, it tells the H to go inside the Y. So that's an example of Larry's slot. Right over here, and again, I won't belabor each one of these, it basically is telling the wide receivers with code words, flip, flop, flash, and twins to switch alignments. You're inside, I'm outside, that type thing. Again, everything is created for multiplicity, simplicity, word recognition, most importantly, getting your best player on their worst player. If you ever been in that situation where, dang, I wish he was lined up on that kid, you know, I mean, we could run hitch all dead gum day against him because he's backing up. Time the ball's snapped, he's at 12 freaking yards. We could turn around and throw it to him, but we've got to get Jimmy out on that Joe. How do we do that? This gives you that multiplicity. Code words continued. The word wing moves a Z into a standard 1 by 1 yard wing alignment. So I won't, again, I'm not going to belabor every one. You can freeze it. Here is, the second block of rip. So you've got your tight end there. You've got your Z going with the tight end and rip X opposite. Now, if I say rip wing, then I'm moving my Z into a tight 1 by 1 there. Unbalanced is rip. Now all I've done here is move my X over, and they just call that rip X, telling who to come over, rip X, as an unbalanced simplicity. Again, that would be going back to the second box of denoting where the tight end goes, but with some code words. Here's some shortcuts that just give you some food for thought to employ. And these were born out of the most popular, popular things that Coach Coverdale and Coach Robinson were doing in terms of, we ran this formation so many times, we didn't want to call this rip 7. We just called it RAM, okay? Rip 7, again, is rip, tight end, Z goes corresponding, X goes corresponding, putting the H in 7, and they had moved that H back up on the tight end. Hey, let's don't do something different, but we're using this so much. Let's just call it RAM. Let's just get to a one-word RAM. Bam, we know what we're in. So that's the example of the shortcuts. Shortcuts continued on empty. If they had empty with their Y and Z to the right, that was just empty. Zilch is the Y and Z to the left side. H and X, of course, go corresponding. Now, the fullback doesn't have to be a fullback. Notice the consistency, they always use Z, Y, H, X, F. That does not change. The personnel changes. So your F or your fullback can be a fifth wide receiver. So let's move on and look at another play that Alex Kirby breaks down in his Every Play Revealed. We've got a 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends, which means corresponding we've got two wide receivers in the game. Detailed look of it. What you are seeing here is evidently the Patriots wanted to utilize in big running downs an extra tackle in the game. Again, what I love about it is the simplicity of having a system, and that system being able to be built on with blocks is you're getting more kids involved. Think about that. So instead of having 11 starters, I think this is key. Get this. Instead of having 11 starters, you have 18 starters because everybody's involved in the personnel package. So I think that's a heck of an idea. Now, the naming of it, we have Liz, 6, X6, and we'll get into what the motion is here in a minute. But if we didn't have motion right here by the X receiver, this is simply Liz, all right, with a 6. Different, we've got 11 personnel in, trips over here to the top. See it schematically, if you remember in the Super Bowl, Edelman went in motion. He was a former college quarterback. And little dipsy-do right there, trickery. Larry, 11, H9. So in this personnel set, we have, imagine this is the H and an I formation. We have, just mentally picture this. He's a tailback. What we have is a twins left, tight end back to the right, so Larry. By calling a number, we tell the H-back where to line up, therefore 11. Then we tell the H-back to go in motion. We'll go there in a minute. And he goes in motion inside to 9. There we go, Larry 11, H9. We'll define H9 motion a little bit. Here we go. So your fourth block. First block is backs. Second block is tight end. The two receivers have where they go. Third block is the H-back. Throughout second and third block, there are some code words to shortcut and to make things a little bit more defined. And then finally, motion. So I love the way that Coverdale and Robinson talk about it. They say in a perfect world, you as a coach are trying to communicate who you want to go in motion, when do you want him to go in motion, where do you want the ball to be snapped as the motion ends. So in the perfect world, hey, Joe, let's say Z's Joe. Joe, go across the formation and get the ball and the quarterback snap the football halfway between the end man line and the widest receiver. That'd be the perfect world. That's unreasonable. So this is Z9. What player, Joe, where do you go and when does it snap? Bam. Quarterback remembers, player remembers, player knows where to go, etc. We know when the ball is going to be, where the ball is going to be snapped. So let's look at, just to go back and get all four boxes just on this picture alone. So we have strong, means the backfield set. Fullback is going strong offset to the call where there's the Y. There's first box. Rip, tight end lines up to the right, Z corresponding with him, X corresponding way. All right, that's 2. There is no H displaced here. Z9, motion. There's your 4 boxes, and you get all that in. Let's look at it where hopefully, here we go. We have where the H is displaced and getting everything in here. So we have the call is L. That tells the tight end to go to the left side. Z go with him to the left side, X go away. L, instead of Lex, he goes 1 and 1 off the tackle. So that's L. Okay. First block, second block are denoted by L. 8. 8 means H lines up in the 8 spot. That's halfway between the end man on the line of scrimmage and the widest receiver. And then we have the X player going into the 6 hole for motion. So L8, X6, blah, blah, blah. There you go. You've got an entire system to get into as many matchups as you possibly want. So you can denote if it's going to be man by the corner following him. You can get this X player on an inside linebacker on a route isolated. They do some kind of bump, and now your H is isolated on a player that he's better than, say a linebacker, etc. So there's a myriad of things that you can do to create matchups and to get more kids on the field and involved. Now, everybody has orbit motions, Zulu motions. I'll just call them specialty motions or special motions. And Robinson and Coverdale in their book utilize basically 4 different motions: idiot, stupid, crazy, and return. I won't belabor every word here, but here is a example of a stupid. So we've got the Z, motion outside the widest receiver and back to the original position. So you want to do this to determine if it's zone or man. You want to do this to get the defense thinking, bring him back, and be in a position to have a better crack block. Whatever the case may be, that would be an example of stupid. Let's go to another live shot here and what's going on. So here's the picture, new personnel, different formation. We've got a detailed diagram here of what's going on. This is actually from Drive 8. Now we have gun B, and again, gun could be your default, but since in the writing the I under center was the default, I'm going to add gun B, first block, backs offset to the left. Nasty Ray. Now, nasty, remember, is a tight end flexed out 3 to 4 yards. Ray, X and Z are going to the right, ergo R, Y at the end, tight end opposite. H back is set in the 6 hole. Gun B, nasty, Ray 6. New formation. Easy words. Gun B, nasty Ray 6. Gun B, nasty Ray 6. And imagine, if you're in a high school stadium, not a lot of people, or there's not a lot of, noise. Hopefully you've educated your fans, your home fans at least, to be quiet when you got the ball. I mean, gun B, nasty Ray 6, before the plays ever called, and everybody knows where to go. New formation, we're going to get a motion in here. Take a look at that. here's the full diagram. We're going to get a motion here in a minute. So we got gun A, R, remember R, tight end to the right, off, wing, okay? What that's done is move the receiver in here a little bit tighter. And I didn't put the motion in yet, just a typo on my part. But basically, we're going to get return, all right? So we would have Y return if I was going to add that. So just make a note of that. Gun A, R, wing. Wing, again, is a code word for him to come in tighter. R says, I'm off, you're on. Wing, and then I put, I tell who and what I want him to do. Quarterback knows who, what he's going to do, and when the ball is going to snap. So in to the guard, return to your original spot. So I should have Y return there. Another formation. Here's it schematically being looked at and overviewed again from Alex's detail. What you get on every page of every play is an analysis of what happened on that play to give you context. So you're not just going to get pass complete to Amendola for a 17-yard gain and a first down. You're going to get an analysis of why did Amendola go in this return motion? What was their thinking right here? Did that give a declarative thing? Hey, that is a clear sign of man right there. Because with one high safety, and I'm getting off tracks of formation here just a minute, but want to give you what a great resource this is for a coach. So you got a one high safety. Is this a form of zone, blah, blah, blah. And believe me, we could spend another 3 hours on the Falcons' complex defense, golly. But essentially, Brady's determined just through this return motion on Amendola that it's a man situation. And he's already got him flanked here for this outcut. So I'm a little bit in the weeds. But let's get back to formation. Gun, A, Larry, 6Z return. Okay. So gun, offset into the A. Larry, we've got the X and the Z, and now we've got the Z returning. Okay. I made a typo here again, my fault. Don't know, I'm dyslexic, I guess. The H is actually in a 7 here, okay? So this should be Gun A Larry. These are not in the book, by the way. This is me detailing in this episode. I don't know how the Patriots call their personnel. I don't know how they call their formations. Again, let's go back to the premise of this whole episode. I'm using a high school coach's terminology and formation system to equate it to how the Patriots get into all the different things they get into. So I've added this for my commentary in this video. In the book, you're getting the play, the description, the complete scheme, and the analysis. But just to note there, this should be 7. So Larry says X and Z go to the L of Larry, Y goes opposite. I also should probably have a nasty in there, okay, just to say, hey, I don't want you tight, I want you nasty. So Gun A, nasty Larry. 7, he should be in the 7 hole here, and I'm telling the Z to return, okay? Let's go to an empty look right here. Here's the look at it. Gun empty, 10. And I put F is placed in the 10 spot. Let me explain. Of course, gun, because I don't have that as my default. You can do that if you're in the gun more. if you go back to an earlier slide, Coach Coverdale and Coach Robinson, they shortcut empty with tight end and Z going right in the code word empty, H and Y going opposite. Now, the fullback is displaced. What I've done, usually they have the fullback here in empty. What I've done is put who the fullback is in the 10 spot. Remember, just like H. So gun empty 10. Another formation. Look. Detailed diagrams from the book. Gun A, Lex 8. So I've got Lex, which means I'm halfway between the end man and the receiver. H is in an 8. Now, AKA flex. So Coach Coverdale and Coach Robinson, or whatever the Patriots may call flex, they could call this ace. They could call it doubles, you know. So instead of the system allows for you're in something multiple times a game, multiple times during the season, they have a method to just shortcut. Flex. Bam. There we go. Down here in the red zone, about the 5+ 5 yard line. Again, another thing that Alex does a good job of is showing the context of where the play is being run in relation to whether it's in the red zone, whether it's at 50, whether it's coming out from the -5, or whether it's at the goal line. You know, so this is a second and goal line. So great detail and context of what's happening on every play. And in the book, as I showed you in the preview, you would get an analysis. This is gun B, B's to the left. Liz, tight end's tight, Z's there. I've got the H back in the 8 position, and I've told Z to go to the 7 hole where the ball is going to be snapped. Gun B, Liz 8, Z 7. Now, you know, just to recap it, what you're seeing here on your screen is the ebook version of Coach Coverdale and Coach Robinson's book, Volume 1, Fundamentals and Techniques of the Quick Passing Game. They do a great job of breaking down everything you'd want to know about the quick passing game. They have another book on the bunch. This is the one I tore up, but within it is how they get into all the formations and sets and motions. So just a brilliant use of their system. Real quick, I hope I can pull this up. Yep. Again, I was making a point about the offering of what Alex Kirby is going to give you. You go to coachingprocesswins.com. Make sure you get on the email list, but you can also go to the resources tab, and the book is $19.99. It'll come immediately to you electronically, and you have a breakdown of every play within context. Again, every play, where is the yard to gain? In other words, where's the first down? Everything, this is the first drive, this is the second play, this is the time. So complete context, complete schematic, and then complete analysis, which is brilliant in some of the things that are brought forth. If you get to go, teaser alert, go to the last play that won the game for the Patriots. Very last play in the overtime where they scored a touchdown on the sweep right. Just that small analysis alone is worth the price of admission on how the Patriots on such a simple play. The toss is not a earth-shattering scheme. We all want to get into scheme. The game is getting more and more and more to personnel matchup, group matchup, and taking advantage of that. Some brilliant analysis. So go to coachingprocesswins.com and see all that. I hope you've gotten something from this. Well, give me some feedback. Tell me what some of your thoughts are. Once you get this ingrained and really dive into it, it's a simple system that allows a high school football coach, a college football coach, to put his players into a myriad. I mean, it's an infinite amount of formations, groupings, motions with simple words that keep it likable and learnable, the KILL principle. Again, that's where I pulled it from, so I want to give credit for credit is due. Coverdale and Robinson. And I want to just give you that last reminder of coachingprocesswins.com. Every day we're going to put new things on the website. Well, maybe not every day, a lot. And tomorrow, April 7th, depending on when you watch this, it's on there. If you're watching this today, tomorrow, the book will be released. So, happy learning, happy reading. Our why is to help coaches in the process. That's the why, and that's what's important. So, until next time, over and out. Adios. Get your grinds. Coaching process wins.